quick video I wanted to make, fellas. So I've noticed a lot of people don't believe that it's lean to be, it's rare to be lean in 2025. In reality, in 2025, these days, it's extremely, extremely rare to be lean. Like, it's extremely rare. Now, according to ChatGPT, statistics and shit, it says it's somewhere between 1 to 5%, somewhere in that range, can see their abs on a, yearly basis. And you got to realize, like, a lot of those people are on steroids. So when it comes to the naturals, the actual natural doing this shit, that's super fucking rare. Like, people aren't walking around below 15% fucking body fat. Just believe that. I don't see that shit, like, ever. I've been to hundreds of gyms in the US, been to hundreds of gyms overseas, been to gyms like all over, right? And then on social media, right, if you start looking up like health conscious content and shit like that, you'll be in an echo chamber where you see the same motherfuckers over and over. You'll see the same 1,000 people over and over and over again, and then you'll be like, oh my gosh, everyone's lean. And it's like, no, you're seeing the same 1,000 people out of 8 billion, 9 billion people on earth. All right, that's not a lot of fucking people, straight up. And some of you guys are like, oh no, it's so easy to get lean. No, it's not. It's not. Most people just don't. Even though most people, might take them like 6 months of locking in order to lock in for 6 months, you have to have a completely different mindset. People just aren't doing that shit. Here's the thing. It's easier to be a millionaire these days than it is to be lean, to be below 15% body fat. It's more common to be a millionaire now. As far as millionaire, obviously that includes, net worth. So a lot of that is equity in houses, especially, after COVID and shit, stocks and bonds, retirement funds, 401ks, but still, it's easier to be a millionaire these days than it is to see your abs because people aren't locked in. So just know that the fastest way to separate yourself is to get lean. That's why I say with this personal branding shit, like, I guarantee you, whatever engagement you get on social media right now, you get in shape, it'll go up, right? It can't go down. It's literally impossible. If you are lean, you can see your abs and you post on social media, that's like half the fucking battle, because then you got people's attention. Now after that, all you gotta do is provide value. A lot of you guys provide value, but you're out of shape, so you don't get the attention first. You see what I'm saying? But just know that, fellas, if you're out there, if you're locked the fuck in, if you're lean, you're fucking rare. Like, the humility shit, you gotta stop being humble with that shit. Like, for me, it took me a while to realize just how rare that shit is. Because every time I go somewhere, that's like the first thing people notice, or the first thing they talk about. They're like, oh, are you a personal trainer? Oh, do you play? A lot of people think I play like basketball or like NFL or, soccer or some shit. Especially when I wear like my Premier League shirts, they think I'm like a soccer player or some shit. But that's because it's very rare for like a normal person, especially when you get past the age of like 22. I know a lot of you guys might be in like high school and shit like that, so it's kind of hard to be fat as fuck because you're walking a lot, right? But once you get past 22, you start working the job, right? People stop thinking about fitness. People start working jobs. They get in relationships they hate. So now they're eating a bunch of bullshit. Now they're stressed all the time. Now they're sedentary at work. Now they're skipping the gym. So most people, like above the age of 22, that's when people just stop. They start falling apart and shit. Like 95% of, my high school classmates that I follow are out of shape now, except a couple of them that went to the AFL or UFL. And then one of them that, or a couple of them that saw my, my content on Facebook and started locking in, and then they started getting lean, and then they sent me a message like, hey man, you inspire me. That's the only people that are lean. Everybody else is like literally like 40-30% body fat from years and years of neglect. Because the thing is, like I said, after high school, your step count goes down. After college, you focus on work. You're not walking on campus and shit no more. Like, people don't realize that, and people lack self-awareness about how they gain weight. They think when you get older you just gain weight because their whole family did, right? They're eating the same meals, but they're not moving as much, and then they gain weight and they wonder why. That's the most common thing I see, specifically former athletes. Like, you saw how Darrell Revis blew up after the NFL. A lot of people blow up after boxing, after the NFL, after they retire, because they eat the same, but obviously they're not exercising the same. Like, their exercise goes way down, but they didn't have a knowledge of nutrition. They were just kind of eating whatever, but working out so much. I see that very, very, very commonly. All right. So, like I said, the reality is people aren't, even the people who work out, even when you go to gyms, you're not seeing lean people. When you go to pools, gyms, beaches, surprisingly, you're not seeing a lot of lean people. You'll see a few. But if you freak in those places enough, you'll see the same people over and over. If you go somewhere for the first time, you're like, oh my God, like, this is crazy, everyone's lean. But then you go there, consistently be like, oh, it's the same motherfuckers all the time that are lean, and just a bunch of random people who are out of shape, right? You'll see that everywhere. You'll see big ass stomachs everywhere. You'll see people just sloppy looking everywhere because you got to remember, being lean means you got to be disciplined and aware of your nutrition. People don't use food as fuel. People use food as an escape. People use food as a hobby. People use food as comfort, right? And that's where majority of results come from. So I know a lot of you guys be commenting like, oh, it's easy to be lean. Everyone's lean. That's how the 5% think, right? The 5% are like, yeah, it's easy to be lean, just stay locked in. Everybody else is like, damn, bro, like, how do you stay locked in? How do you stay motivated? Shit like that, right? Because most people, even just being a trainer, what I've noticed is like most people go based off emotions with their actions. All their actions go based off emotions. So if they're not feeling good, they're not going to eat good. If they're sad, they're going to use food to cope. If they're happy, they're going to use food to cope, right? If they're mad, they're going to use food to cope. That's just a normal person. If they're motivated, they'll eat right. That's the average person. They do shit based off emotions, which is the dumbest shit of all time, right? But that's the average person. That's what people do, all right? That's why most people are, out of shape, like I said. All you have to do, by the way, if you don't believe this shit, start paying a little bit more attention when you walk outside, right? Start paying a little bit more attention when you go to the doctor's office, go to Walmart, go to Target, go to the gym, when you go to a pool, when you go to the beach, when you go to the movies, go to the mall. Just pay attention and you'll see it everywhere. Everybody's like severely, out of shape, obese, all that shit. It's not that. It's not rocket science. It's not a surprise. It's not like groundbreaking news. It's just obvious. It's like super obvious. I see this shit all the time. But it's just when you get that awareness, you'll start to realize like, damn, bro, like being lean is rare. Yeah, it's rare because it takes fucking commitment. That's why you get, that's why you get like, it's almost like you get priority when you go places, right? Or you get respect when you go places because that shit is real, like I always say. And most people who comment, like, most people who are like commenting negative shit or who are denying it are usually out of shape, right? But when you get in shape, you start to realize just how out of shape everyone is. Like you see your coworkers, right? Most of them are out of shape unless they're just like a young chick or some shit like that and they haven't built up enough bad years of eating yet or something like that, right? But generally your coworkers are out of shape, especially in the medical field. Everyone's super sloppy. So in reality, guys, like if you're lean, good shit, stay locked in. It is the fastest way to separate yourself as a guy, period. Because in today's day and age, people can rent Lamborghinis, people can rent watches, people can rent Airbnbs, people can rent, like, some nice BMWs and shit to look rich, but you can't rent a good physique. It's impossible. It takes work, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes commitment, it takes patience. You cannot rent a good physique. It's not happening. So that shit's gonna be way more rare than all the other shit. Like people are renting houses, posting shit on social media. They can't rent a physique and post it on social media. You can't. You could try to alter your physique with AI or some shit, which people be thinking I'm doing. They're like, oh, you're using AI. Dumbass motherfuckers, they're just out of shape. But you can't rent a good physique, all right? So when you have that shit, people are gonna respect the fuck out of you, right? And people are gonna ask you how you do it. Like they're always gonna say, hey, what's your regimen? Like the thing is, before I had a good physique, I was just an average person. Now it's like, that's the first thing people notice and they usually ask like, oh, are you a personal trainer? Like, I bet you take your diet seriously. And they ask that stuff, right? I see more people with nice cars, nice watches, Burberry shirts and shit than I see people with good physiques. It is what it is, all right? It's literally just basic observations. If you don't know that, a physique is rare, a lean physique is rare, then you just lack self-awareness. Now, maybe you go to a CrossFit gym, which is like the top 1% of people, right? So everyone's lean there. That makes sense. But in reality, in like the average world, go to a regular gym. Like I said, go to a regular grocery store. There's just, everybody's out of shape because of the culture, right? The commercials and what's pushed. It's normalized to be out of shape, right? As soon as you start eating what you're supposed to be eating, it's not a diet. As soon as you eat what you're supposed to be eating, motherfuckers start saying, oh, you're on a diet? I'm like, no, nigga, I'm just eating basic shit so I'm not fat as fuck and I don't have type 2 diabetes. Like, I'm eating basic shit. You see what I'm saying? So it's crazy out here. Like, people call normal eating a diet and they call Cheetos normal food. Crazy. But anyways, fellas, that's the message, man. So like, if you locked in on your nutrition and shit, stay locked the fuck in. You're gonna separate yourself. You're gonna be different. The shit, listen, every day I talk about this shit, by the way. Every day I talk about losing fat. Every day I talk about being lean. Every day I talk about Bodygame. It's more and more rare. It just is, because every day more people get fatter than people get leaner. It is what it is. People use excuses like, oh, I'm stressed. That has no correlation with being in a calorie surplus. Stress doesn't mean being a calorie surplus. Lack of time doesn't mean being a calorie surplus. I'll never understand how you can lack time, but you spend more time eating than I do. Doesn't make any fucking sense. It means you prioritize eating. All right, but anyways, link is in the description if you're serious about locking in and really reaching your goals. The only reason I say if you're serious, because a lot of people, like I said, and this goes to the point of the video, why being lean is rare. Because after a month, right, average body fat is around 30%. So after a month, you're closer to 25%, but you're also changing your mindset and you're getting uncomfortable. Most people, when they get to 25%, they start feeling uncomfortable. They revert back to their old habits or they quit, right? Because they're just not willing to do what it takes to get down to that 10 to 15% range, right? Once they get to 25 and they have to do, they have to put in work, they're like, I don't know about this, man. This is, this is too much. Like, that's how most people think. So yeah, link is description. Stay blessed, man.